Hey guys, welcome back for some more standard best of one. So I've made some updates here to the Jeskai Soldiers deck, and there'll be a link in the description if you want to see the previous version. But yeah, made some pretty big changes, kind of brought it a little bit lower to the ground, and some of the reasons for this is just because everything is so fast right now. The Is It Prowess deck is super fast. The Omniscience deck can just like win on turn 4. So there's a lot of reasons to kind of make it as fast as possible. So with the kind of new changes, we're looking at 15 1-drops, and then we have Requisition Rate is sort of our trick. But this plays really well against every deck that runs Temporary Lockdown. It's also great against the Artifact, I can't remember the name of it, in the Is It Prowess deck that starts making extra guys. And then it's just good in general around like enchantments. But yeah, those are the two main targets for it. So full play set, I found it to be super useful, and you know, all the different options here that this card gives, especially being able to just pump your team, is really nice for this kind of deck. So for the 1-drops, this is a soldiers based deck. So we have 4 copies of Descendant of Storms, 2/1 for 1, and whenever it attacks, you can pay 1 white and 1 other, and if you do, it endures 1, so you can then create a 1/1 spirit token, or you can put a +1/+1 counter on it. So pretty nice versatile creature. Most of the time it just attacks for 2, and that's totally fine. 4 copies of Leonin Vanguard. This gives us a tiny little bit of life gain in this deck, which it sorely needs against the mono red decks out there. But a 1/1 for 1, and then at the beginning of combat on your turn, if you control 3 or more creatures, this creature gets +1/+1 until end of turn, and you gain 1 life. So a nice way to be able to get in for 2 early if you can put enough creatures on the board. 4 copies of Recruitment Officer as a 2/1 kind of vanilla soldier that can go long and help you find more soldiers for 1 white and 3 other, to look at the top 4 cards of your library and then reveal a creature card with mana 3 or less from among them and put it in your hand. Then put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. So helps you kind of go long in this kind of deck. 4 copies of Requisition Raid, which again is a card where you can pay for multiple different costs. Here it's 1 white and then potentially up to 3 other to either destroy an artifact, an enchantment, or put a +1/+1 counter on each creature that target player controls, which will most of the time be you. You have 3 copies of Dryad Militant. This is kind of sort of a nice card against the Omniscience deck. It's not amazing because it doesn't, kind of stop the combo necessarily, but it has like a little bit of utility against making it hard for them to get certain spells back from their graveyard. It can also be sort of like a little bit useful against the Is It Prowess deck, so they're not able to like level 2 their little enchantment and get instants or sorceries back from their yard. So there's a little bit of utility, but mostly just a 2/1 beater for 1. For a 2-drop slot, we have 4 copies of Harbin Vanguard Aviator. This was really kind of the only reason to go blue. For a little while, I tried Sky Strike Officer, and it was just a little bit too dirtily, a little bit too slow. It's a great card, but this format is so fast with mono red decks being able to kill you on turn 3, and we just don't have time for it. So Harbin, on the other hand, is fantastic, and being able to get out 5 soldiers so that when you attack with 5 or more soldiers, all creatures you control get +1/+1 and gain flying until end of turn. And it's a 3/2 flyer for 2. It is a legend, but I think running 4 copies makes sense just because the effect is so powerful, and they're almost certainly going to kill the first one. So happy to run a full play set. We have 4 copies of Valiant Veteran as a 2/2 Lord that is a soldier and gives other soldiers that you control +1/+1. And then it has some added utility. If it's in your graveyard, you can pay 2 white and 3 other and then exile it from the graveyard to put a +1/+1 counter on each soldier you control. So a little bit kind of like a Lord with an upside. 4 copies of Resolute Reinforcements, which is really good at trying to get to 5 soldiers for Harbin, and then it's also really good at powering out Knight Errant of Eos. For a while, I was considering running Warden of the Inner Sky, which does typically play well with Resolute Reinforcements. However, I found that these games are just so breakneck fast. Those extra points of damage, like with Dryad Militant, for instance, kind of matters, and we don't really have time to, start tapping our creatures to slowly pump up the Warden of the Inner Sky. The Scry is nice, but it's just, I think that this is just too fast of a format to kind of mess around with that. So we'll see. That could change. 4 copies of Imidane's Recruiter as sort of our top end, pump everything, swing in for the win. But yeah, this is a 1 red and 2 other human knight. It's a 2/2, and then when this creature enters the battlefield, all creatures you control get +1/+0 and gain haste until end of turn, including this creature. And then if you have 1 white and 4 other, you can play the Sorcery Adventure version of this card, which creates 2/2 white knight creature tokens with vigilance. So you can do that, and then after you make the tokens, then you can play the other side of the card and pump everything and swing in. So it helps you go along a little bit, but all around great card. 4 copies of Knight Errant of Eos, which is a 4/4 for 1 white and 4 other with Convoke, and so you can lower the casting cost of this card by 1 colorless or 1 colored mana by tapping a creature of that color type, or just any creature to lower the cost by 1 colorless mana. And then when this creature enters the battlefield, you can look at the top 6 cards of your library and reveal up to 2 creature cards with mana X or less from among them, where X is the number of creatures that convoked this creature out. So yeah, it's pretty easy to be able to convoke this for at least 3, and that will find you every other creature in your deck, including Imidane's Recruiter, which you will use to hopefully swing for the win. The mana base is a little tricky. I opted for 1 copy of Mirrex, and then we're using almost the full play set of both Cavern of Souls, which gives us some counterspell protection, which would then be naming either human or soldier, and then 3 copies of Secluded Courtyard, which doesn't give counterspell protection, but does give us the ability to, again, either name human or soldier to hit kind of whichever creature we need. Part of the reason I'm running 1 Mirrex instead of the 4th Secluded Courtyard is we do have 4 copies of Requisition Raid, and I just want to make sure that we're able to cast it, since you can't use Cavern of Souls or Secluded Courtyard to pay for the white mana for this spell. And then 4 copies of Inspiring Vantage. Got 2 different versions here. 2 copies of Battlefield Forge for Painlands. 3 copies of Seachrome Coast, another land that comes in tapped unless you control 2 or fewer other lands. So Inspiring Vantage and Seachrome Coast both come in untapped unless you have 3 other lands already in play. And then 4 copies of Fortified Beachhead. So this is another card that's really nice for soldiers, helps you kind of go long. If you have this and 5 other lands, you can tap them to give soldiers you control +1/+1 until end of turn. This does come up, and it definitely can swing games. So pretty happy with the land count. We've got 21 land, 39 spells and creatures. I think we have 4 spells total and 35 creatures. And for sources, we have, so everything can produce white, so 21 sources of white. And I believe we have 14 sources of red for Imidane's Recruiter, counting the Cavern of Souls and the Mirrex, the Secluded Courtyard, the Inspiring Vantages, and the Battlefield Forges. And then we have 15 sources of blue for Harbin. So even though we have the same number of each of these cards, Harbin is earlier on the casting cost. So I think it's a little more important to have the extra blue. And with 14 or 15 sources, it's pretty good to be able to cast them on time pretty reliably. But yeah, that's the deck. So right now we are Diamond 2, so we're working our way to Mythic, and this deck has been a lot of fun. Let's jump into some games. I will say that Requisition Raid has definitely been the MVP against a lot of the blue-white control decks, kind of whatever variation, just because Temporary Lockdown is super, super, it's just everywhere these days. But still kind of learning like the sequencing of the deck a little bit. So, yeah. I will pretty much keep any hand that has 2 land or more, up to about 4 land. But yeah, just as kind of a general rule, I would just recommend any 1-lander, just mulligan any 1-lander. But yeah, keep any two land hand typically. Okay, we'll lead out. We will name. We want to be able to have soldier for veteran and then human, so we're able to play Imidane's Recruiter. So I think I'll just start with human here. Since we've got both, it doesn't really matter, but typically you're going to want to have like one of your lands named as human, one of them named as soldier. There's only 8 soldiers in the deck that are not humans, and there's only 8 humans in the deck that are not soldiers. So, but it tends to work out pretty well. Okay, now we'll lead out with the Inspiring Vantage, since this is a land we want to play early so it doesn't come into play tapped. And then we'll just drop a Valiant Veteran. Since they've got Rockface Village, we know that they can't cast Burst Lightning. So happy to lead that out and push for 3. Okay, so this is the Boros Pump version with all kinds of nasty stuff like Sheltered by Ghosts and other nasty enchantments. Luckily, Requisition Raid is pretty good against that. So now we'll go ahead and we'll leave this one out for, I guess we could name human or soldier, since Vantage can play any of the soldiers with like any white mana essentially. So I think I'll just do another human here. And then we'll just go ahead and push into Knight Errant here. So being able to convoke for 3 is great. We already have a recruiter, but this gives us the ability to pick up any other creatures in our deck. So we'll get a Vanguard, since life should matter a little bit, and then one of the Descendant of Storms. Every little point helps for sure. This deck can be really scary, especially if they get the mouse that gives double strike. If they get that online on turn 2, it's pretty brutal. Okay, there's the Sheltered by Ghost we expected. And now we can use Requisition Raid to blow them out. The nice thing here is that even if they have like the 1 mana like hexproof, it only gives hexproof to the creature. So since we're going to be targeting the Sheltered by Ghosts, it won't matter. We could also just push here, but this is a pretty big play. So I think Requisition Raid is the right time for it, especially since turning off lifelink is pretty huge. So we'll do both. This way we get to destroy the enchantment first, and then we target ourselves. So with the way that the timing works, we should be able to get a +1/+1 counter on the Knight Errant of Eos here. And that's a pretty nice turnaround. Now we can just set up for like Vanguard plus Recruiter and push for game next turn. Yeah, now they're just considering, yep, Shardmaid Rescue, which we knew they had, but the Requisition Raid plays around it pretty nicely. So here they're going to need like another Sheltered by Ghost to try to get back in this game, unless they have like double strike nonsense. I suppose they could have like the Sacrifice Burn Together plus Pump to try to get there. If they have that, then we do lose. Yeah, and they had it. That's too bad. So we couldn't really play around that, unfortunately. I suppose If we had played the Vanguard, we would have been at 0, so it wouldn't have mattered. But I think that was just the play. They happened to have the Sellsword, which was annoying. And I will say, like, if you see a different line that might have like played out better, certainly feel free to put it in the comments. It's always interesting kind of to see hindsight being 2020. Okay, we'll lead off here with Descendant of Storms just in case they play something that we can attack past that we want to, just to give ourselves sort of the best option. Plus, Recruitment Officer is a little bit better late. And then our plan here is to go like turn 2 reinforcements, set up for Knight Errant. Yeah, I think we just get rid of Mirrex here. We don't want to start dropping creatures. This is a little annoying because now we don't have red mana for Immodane's Recruiter, but I think we can find another source. And we can decline here since we have a soldier already in play. And then we'll just set up for reinforcements at the end of their turn. So we will not auto pay here. And then just push for 2. Okay, so this is just the white-black. Sometimes they run blue in this deck. But this, I think, probably has like the, is it Sun Pearl Kirin, the one where they can keep bouncing nonsense and just try to drain us out. I think we just get rid of the officer here since we don't have close to 4 mana, and these are just going to give us more, a little bit more for what we're planning to do. Because now we can go next turn untap reinforcements into Knight Errant. And then find any other creature in our deck. Okay, we can pick up another Knight Errant, which is nice. Harbin is also really good here. I mean, there's so many good cards. So like Valiant Veteran plus Harbin is pretty nasty if we draw land, because we do already have 5 soldiers in play. Knight Errant helps us like find more stuff if they've got. So if they have like, yeah, I think I just want Harbin plus Veteran here. Like we could play the Vanguard, but we have pretty good board presence, and I don't think we need the life. So I think I'm just going to go Veteran plus Harbin. And just try to push for the kill. Plus this way, if they have like another Hopeless Nightmare, like we still have 1. Yeah, and they're done. Okay, 1 lander. Unfortunately, I do want to mulligan this. We can just do better. Hopefully get 6. And here I'll just throw back a land and then just keep all the creatures, I think. So we'll throw back Secluded Courtyard since we want to have some mana in case we draw like Requisition Raid. So I think that's the play. You could also make an argument for keeping the 3 land and like tossing back an officer here, but I think we just want more creatures. So I think I'm just going to keep the creatures. Because like ideally we kind of top out with 3 land and we kind of never want more than 3 land in this deck. But I don't know. I mean, you could make a debate for keeping the 3rd land there to try to ensure the Knight Errant, which I get. Since we've got the white source already, I'll just name human. And then I think, yeah, so we just want to go veteran here. And we want our Knight Errant of Eos, but I don't think they're going to block with Scavenger, because like Scavenger is their whole deck. So I think they don't block here, and I think we just get some free damage, because we're certainly not blocking on their turn. Yeah, I didn't think they were going to block. So it might have been right to keep the 3 land and like thrown back the officer. I'm kind of wishing this was a land right now, since we don't know if we're going to draw one. So that could have been a misplay. Okay, definitely not blocking. Yeah, that was unfortunate. So would have been better to keep the land, kind of in hindsight here. Now we just want to go Vanguard plus Officer to try to set up for Knight Errant. And the question is, do we want to push with Officer here or not? Either way, we're going to play Vanguard. Let's see if I can... Well, this is set up for human, right? Yeah, there'll be no tricks, but I think we want Vanguard for the life pre-combat. And then question is, do we attack with Officer? I don't really think so, because I think they just trade it for like Otter. So I think we just keep all of our creatures and try to go for Knight Errant next turn, because there's like a decent chance they have some piece of removal. So I think we just sit. And I'm definitely kicking myself for not keeping 3 land in my opener. Yeah, there's the removal we expected. This way, if we don't draw land, we can still go for Knight Errant and just hope we're not too slow. But they're curving out pretty nicely here, so I think this is going to be a pretty close game. Yeah, unfortunately, didn't get the land, which would have been nice because we could have been able to play veteran also. But I think we just want Knight Errant here. If they have a counter spell, actually, never mind. We can play through the counters, but what do we want to draw here? Seeing as we only have 2 land, might just want to go for two 1-drops here. I suppose we could try to get reinforcements in case we draw into land. Yeah, I think I'm just going to go for the 2 1-drops here. This way, if we draw land, we can go like Guy plus veteran, or potentially like requisition rate if we need to. But yeah, that one turn might have just made us a little too slow here. And then depending what their last card is, like if they put this token on their Scavenger, I think we kind of have to block since we're getting so low on life. Yeah, it looks like they've got something, which is annoying. That's probably just game. Yeah. So yeah, hindsight on that one, definitely should have kept 3 land. But I'm still kind of learning as I'm going along with this deck. But yeah, it seems like the decks that I've been facing here, mostly just like, is it prowess? I guess kind of the blue-white or black-white or blue-white-black bounce with Kirin's and whatnot. Mono-red that are just like super aggressive with like turn 3 kills if they have the Burn Together card. But yeah, this hand looks good. Cautiously optimistic. Okay, Militant can actually be decent against blue-white. I think we just lead out with Militant here in case they try to start building their graveyard. Now we want to play these pre-combat so we get the extra life. May not matter, but every little bit. Question is, do they have lockdown? Yes, they do. That was a very nice pickup. So this is pretty much the dream scenario. Now we can do enchantment plus counters, then give our guys counters with the timing. And this is a pretty nice reversal. If they have the double lockdown, it's kind of annoying, but we've got 4 copies too, so it could happen. For a while, I was considering running like the Cathar Commando for extra enchantment removal, but it's just kind of clunky, and I don't know, maybe I'll go back up to it. Wow, they're set up to just win next turn if they have Abuela's Awakening, since they've got Omniscience in their graveyard. Oof. So pretty much here they just have to like not have it, and if they do, they've just got it and that's it. So we really needed to either have like another Requisition Raid or have that one stick. But they probably just untap and win here, unfortunately. Yeah, there it is. And I guess we'll wait a minute or two to make sure they don't just fizzle out. But for the most part, they never do. The other kind of consideration with Cathar Commando is if they don't have a second copy of Omniscience, you can play it in response to the Omniscience being brought back from the yard. And if they don't have counter magic, or if you have like a way to play through it with your Cavern of Souls, you can then use that to blow up the Omniscience in response to the first spell, which can help you win, but it is definitely pretty shaky. Did they actually run out of gas? It's so rare for them to run out of gas. Oh no, they're definitely not done. Okay, this is probably just game. guess we'll watch just a little longer, but this is pretty much game. Okay, at this point, I think we're just going to call it a day. See if we can swing back a win or two here, hopefully. Opening hand looks good. Got a nice 1-2 drop. And we'll lead out here with Courtyard. I like to keep Cavern of Souls back in case they have like blue mana and are trying to hold up like a counterspell for round 2. So we'll lead out with Secluded Courtyard. And I think let's name Soldier for Dryad Militant here. Okay, they're going to take probably Harbin. Maybe Veteran. Okay, now we'll name Human. And then I think we just double 1 drop here. We could have also like reinforcements and then have like Harbin plus Guy this turn or the next turn. But I think this is threatening a little bit more damage. So we could push into this with Descendant of Storms. I think instead we just want to play out our hand essentially, and then we can. Question is, do we want to hold back Harbin for next turn, or... Yeah, actually, I think we have to do it that way. So let's lead out with Vanguard. And let's do reinforcements here, just so that we can ensure we have at least 5 soldiers, even if they have a removal. Well, that's unfortunate. I think we just play this out since we want to have board presence anyways. They take the Harbin, but it is what it is. Okay, that was a nice pickup. So now I think we use all 5 guys. And then we can leave Descendant of Storms up so we can potentially push. That was a great pickup, though. I think we want another Descendant of Storms. And then probably... It's actually kind of close. I kind of like Vanguard also just because the life potentially will matter. So I think I'm going to go for these 2, actually. And then we can play Vanguard and then push with Descendant. I think I like that over another Descendant for the life. Maybe it's better to go for Descendant here. Yeah, I guess I'll go for Descendant. Okay, that's a nice pickup. So yeah, now we just play out our hand, push for a decent amount. Actually, I could have tapped that differently. Oh well. Yeah, they're gonna hang it up. That makes sense. Yeah, with this deck, you do have to be a little bit careful with the auto tapper, just for. So just try to watch that. But overall, it's a pretty fun deck. It's been fun. Okay, hand looks great. We've got our 2 land. And here, I think I'm going to lead out with Lean in Vanguard, just because the other point of toughness might matter. So like we go turn 1 Vanguard, turn 2 play like Officer plus Descendant. And that way we can attack with a 2/2. And I think I like that over just playing Veteran. This way, if we draw into, God, whatever the name of the 4/4 Human Knight is, then we can, go and find more stuff with Convoke. Okay, so they're setting up for Helping Hand. This card is completely busted. Abhorrent Oculus is super annoying to play against. They haven't got it yet, but they have a very real chance of having it next turn. So yeah, hopefully they don't get there. The nice thing is if we draw land, we can go like Veteran plus Raid for +2/+2, which is pretty sweet. Okay, there's the Helping Hand, which we kind of knew that they had. And then if they might have like Counterspell nonsense or like Bounce. Okay, that's a great pickup. So let's start out with Veteran. And then we'll go for Raid. And push hopefully for a lot. Okay, they had the Counterspell, that's fine. Should still be game. Nice. I'm curious to see how the mono-red matchup kind of evolves. It feels like it's pretty rough since they have so much pump, and the pump in this current meta is just ridiculous. I think we lead out here with Sedative Storms. They probably have cut down. I guess maybe not. Or like anoint, whatever, 2-mana removal spell. So it looks like they've got it. Question is, like, do they think this is worth getting rid of? I assume they do. But yeah, next turn our plan is just go for reinforcements to try to set up for Knight Errant. Oh, interesting. Huh. Okay. I'm not even sure what they take here. Probably Harbin, I guess. Sure. I guess I could see reinforcements to try to slow us down. That kind of makes sense. Yeah, actually, since we can't even cast Harbin, that makes more sense. Here we just double 1-drop and push. And if we draw land and they don't kill anything, or yeah, I guess if they kill something and we don't draw land, then we can't Knight Errant, which is annoying. Or if they have more like hand destruction. Yep, there it is. There it goes. Nice pickup, but we are kind of mana screwed here. So I think we just pump and push. We could also go for Descendant of Storms to like make another guy or just like pump it with this, but that seems pretty weak. So I think we just raid here. This way we've got them on a 2-turn clock. Well, I suppose they have the reinforcements, so not really, but still pretty good. Okay, is that just game? I think that's game. That'll work. Nice. So yeah, we're about halfway to rank 1. That'll do it. All right, thanks guys for watching. I really appreciate you. And just to take a quick kind of recap, I think, yeah, I've been playing the deck all day today on my iPad, and it's been performing pretty well. I just really like where it's at right now. Like Requisition Raid seems like it's just completely out of hand in this meta, so it like having a full play set seems correct. But yeah, the creatures feel pretty good. I don't really think, I think the mana overall is pretty good. We only have 2 Pain Land, and we have like pretty good access to the right mana. I think with 15 sources of blue, I feel pretty good with Harbin, and then 14 sources of red for Recruiter. So you could, I suppose, futz with the land a little bit, but I like it where it's at right now, honestly. Yeah, just get some games in. Let's take a look at the stats. Now the stats are not going to represent the true stats of the deck, since I have done a lot on my iPad, which will not be figured out here on untapped.gg, but we can take a look. All right, overall, the deck has had 4 different versions, which have changed quite a bit. 11 and 8 in matches, so current win rate is 58%. About 2/3 on the play, and it's about even money on the draw. So for the matchups right now, looks like it's doing a little better than 50-50 against blue-white, and whether that's the Omniscience deck or the just like blue-white control or helping hand or whatever nonsense. And then mono-white, I'm not even sure what deck this is, to be honest. 2-1, 100% against mono-black, but it's only 2 matches. And then 50-50 with the Izzet Prowess deck. Looks like it's got a game here on Orzhov, and then, yeah, we just lost a game here to, oh god, I can't think of the name for this color combo, but blue-white-black. Mono-red got a game, and then take a loss against another Jeskai deck. And this, I think, is the Jeskai control deck that has like Lightning Helix and all kinds of other nonsense. But yeah, overall, it's been a lot of fun. So there should be a link to the deck list, both on untap.gg and also moxfield.com in the description. And thanks again, guys, for watching. I really appreciate you. You guys are awesome.